Thanks for everyone that's jumping with us here today. Shout out to MJBizCon, where the three of us and our friend L'Oreal Allegretti of 40 Tons will be joining as we host a panel speaking about the opportunities in craft cannabis for building customer loyalty and love. My name is Dustin Steerman. I'm the founder of a company called Vert. I'll tell you more about that later. We really want to showcase our stars here. Max Vansluys, president of Dailed In Gummies here in Colorado, and Samantha Seagaard, CEO, co-founder of The Fresh Connection in Boston.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Hey.
So, just to give everybody who's listening a little bit of a heads up, we were talking about opportunities to kind of share and promote this panel specifically because one of our passions for the small batch and craft sector, two, MJBiz's focus on really promoting this space and segment as well. And the fact of the matter is that we're going to have a time together in Vegas. The two folks here with me today aren't really going to get to share on the panel when we're live much about their backgrounds, their stories, how they got into this space. So we thought we'd jump onto this live sesh and really give you all the opportunity to hear a little bit about how they each got into this segment, what they're doing. We'll touch on a little bit of the content that we'll be sharing live in terms of building brand and loyalty. But love to kick off. Samantha, you and I've had a chance to connect a little bit over the last couple months. You have a really cool journey into this space in terms of starting in the traditional market and really acquiring that tribal knowledge and now taking that and packaging that up into a brand and bringing that to a loyal customer base in mass. So I thought it'd be great if you could just share a little bit more with those listening on how you got into this industry before maybe it was even a legal industry.
Yeah, so basically I've been in it since I was like 14, so a really long time, like going on 20 years. It's about to be my 34th birthday.
Let's go.
So I lost my dad at a very young age, and because of that I was a very let's say angry youth and I found cannabis as a way to deal with my anger and my grief kind of before I knew that that's what I was doing. Also, my dad had pancreatic cancer, so as I got older, I came to realize, wow, this would have helped him so much. He was also a pharmacist who had gotten in trouble for cannabis, so I think because of that, he wanted to stay away from it when he was diagnosed. So instead, he was on morphine, heavy opiates, and, I saw that firsthand as a 9-year-old, and it was not fun for him. Like, I remember he was really excited because he thought he could have a milkshake. So he went over and he got this fancy milkshake and he had the milkshake and he was like, I had a milkshake. It was great. And my mom was like, that's on your list of stuff you're not allowed to have. So then he had to go and puke it up. And, if he had been on cannabis, that might not have been the case. So I didn't know that as a 9-year-old, but as I came to learn more and more about it, I realized, wow, this could really help people. And like I said, I had always been involved with it. And so it kind of was just the natural trajectory. I moved to Oregon to go to college, quickly realized, holy shit, it's been legal here since 1996. And after that, kind of just determined that if I can control the product that I'm selling, I'll be more supportive of my product. So that's when I decided, you know what, I'm going to try my hand at growing. I went to California, saw kind of what a shit show it was out there, and was like, if these guys can do it, I can do it way better. And so I've been in Oregon honing my craft for the past 10 years and really dialing it in, if you will. Started the Fresh Connection, I believe, 8 years ago, had an indoor grow in Oregon and supplied a bunch of dispensaries medically. And then we were going to go rec there, and basically through a long, long story, wound up in Massachusetts where my brother was going to college. All throughout high school, we always would joke, if it goes legal, we're going to go rec on the East Coast. And everybody laughed at us and told us we were crazy. And we were just like, I don't think so. I don't think we're that crazy. I think it's going to happen. And a lot of people thought we were crazy, and some people believed in us. So, yeah.
Here you are, though. You're out here doing it. You were manifesting all the way back then.
Yep. Yeah, so it's been, I mean, I've been flying back and forth working on this project, I think like 7 years now. So yeah, and that's just like actually like physically looking for a location and stuff. Like it's been an idea for much longer than that.
But it seems like you guys are really like starting to hit your stride out there and building up a pretty loyal community, as is Max and the team over here. So I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit more on that here in this conversation.
Yeah, very excited to learn Max's story. It's just, we just all come from so many different walks of life, but all love cannabis. So it's really cool.
Max has a cool one. I'm looking forward for him to share. I mean, you know, Max, something that I really admire about your story and like possible in this space is, you know, if you're a go-getter, you can go chase your dreams down ultimately, right? And love for you to share a little bit about how you got to where you are, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Breaking up a little bit.
Sorry, I had it wrestling against something. Can you hear me better?
Yeah,
okay.
That's good.
So I came to the space through the retail space. Actually, I started actually as a bud tender at an amazing shop here in Colorado called Den Rec. They actually have 4 locations now in the state. Quickly, you know, as a bud tender, went to management, and in that path, I was able to meet an amazing individual named Jason Manigault, who founded and started Dailed In Gummies back in 2019. At the time, I think Dailed In was still within their first like 6 months in business, and I was able to meet him at the store level because he was still doing deliveries at the time. Not a lot, but I mean, he was doing some, and I was able to get a connection with him. Over time, build that connection, and eventually was able to basically talk him into letting me come on board and help him with, you know, some day-to-day decisions, help him with, you know, the how are we going to take this from where it is to where we want to see it. At the time, Dailed In was at around 20 to 22 employees. We have now since grown. We're around 64. So it's been quite an incredible growth journey for us. Jason was smart enough to see that in the market, we needed something that was a solventless product on the edible side. At the time, distillate products were just, you know, running the market, and there's pretty much widely available to get a distillate edible. So he saw an amazing space to come and find and bring a very clean product to the market. And that's what we were able to do starting in 2019 and what we're still doing now. And we're just very proud to be in the space that we are and be able to sell an amazing product to the consumer and be able to offer such a clean, tasty, amazing product that will get you pretty nice and high.
I assume, Samantha, you being out in Boston, you have not had a chance to try Max's terpy gummies yet, have you?
Unfortunately, I have not gotten to try the gummies yet.
All right, we'll make sure you do get to experience when we're all together.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I think I personally, like, I'm a Dailed In loyalist in terms of just the quality, the onset, the taste, the flavor profiles, the terpenes. You know, you guys brought to market, and what's really cool about this conversation is, Samantha, both you and Max are going down the same path in 2 different product categories when it comes to limited batch, drops, and really kind of continuously changing up what's on the shelf. So I'm looking forward to unpacking that. You know, where I was going to go with this though is, Max, you know, it feels like what the vision for Dailed In was when it started and what it is today might be 2 different things to an extent, in the sense that the business has evolved and you've really found your fit as you came to market. Like, could you share a little bit about what Dailed In was initially focused on? And maybe I'm wrong for saying that, maybe I have it off, but like, how has the business evolved and the model and the vision changed over time?
You know, we still are very much small batch, you know, so I wouldn't say it's changed, but in the terms of evolution, you know, we've been able to offer so many different flavors of gummies. At the very beginning, we only had 3 or 4 different flavors, and we've since then evolved through R&D processes and now have over 30, I think it's 32 different flavors that we offer. We've since then evolved into the liquid space. Now we're producing a solventless liquid rosin edible that you can literally add into any beverage or onto any type of food and be able to dose it. And it's been amazing. It's terp forward, so you can really taste the terpenes coming from the plant itself rather than it being masked by an alternative flavor. We don't color it with anything. So it's truly the cleanest, like truest form of a product from the rosin to the edible, in my opinion. Not trying to overshadow the gummies, but it has just been an amazing product since we've launched, and it's been around for just a little bit over a year now. So if you're ever in Colorado and want to try the liquid gummies, please come try it. They're absolutely incredible. And then obviously we've got our amazing gummies as well.
Do you have a most popular flavor? That question just dropped in.
I would have to say our blue raz or watermelon breeze, mango rita, sangria. Those are all really popular flavors for us. People definitely love. They'll hunt for the flavors. They hunt for the strains. And amazingly, we have some really incredible graphic designers and incredible marketing team that help push, like, you know, we're doing 12 to 13 small batches a week. And with every batch that we put out, we're putting unique artwork out with that batch. On that artwork, we're putting a QR code that'll direct you directly to our website, where we have full lab results for all of our stuff. They'll show you the terpenes. It'll show you the cannabinoids present in every batch. We put that on our label as well. It was something that we wanted to educate the consumer. We've never used indica, hybrid, sativa. We never will. I think we all can agree those are dead terms. They don't mean anything. So we've pushed to educate the consumer on the terpenes and on the cannabinoids, knowing that there's an endocannabinoid system in everybody that operates independently of each other. So we have to know that, you know, using the entourage effect, all of that. That's what makes that's what we're doing in terms of educating the consumer.
Samantha, you know, I'd love to hear your thoughts, just kind of riffing right off what Max was sharing. As somebody who knows a little bit about your brand and watches what you do, I feel like you and the team have a similar strategy in terms of what you're bringing to the market, flower category.
Yeah, I mean, we, you know, still do break it up into indica, sativa, hybrid. It's kind of, in Colorado, you guys are, 5 years ahead of us. Here, it's like, you know, you've got to simplify things. So it does help to kind of at least have that delineation of, like, this means daytime. This is kind of all the time. This is nighttime. Because there are certain strains that do make you more sleepy, and there are certain landrace sativas that do keep you awake. Like, I don't think those are completely a miss. I mean, I do understand that most things are actually hybrids if you look into them, but yeah, there's just so much info to convey to people. Like, yes, I know all about the entourage effect, and I can smell things and tell you what terpene it is, but most people can't. So trying to, you know, make things more digestible for our audience, at least here.
No, it's 100%, Samantha. You know, when you're dealing with a large, widely based consumer, you know, from Massachusetts to Colorado, it definitely, you know, there are some consumers that want to be educated, and there are some who just want to take the apple, and they hope that it helps them day to day. So, you know, 100% agree. We got to find a way to educate, but there are also still ways that we can simplify the education.
Yeah. So it's just, there's so much education that sometimes people don't necessarily want to listen to.
Well, I mean, I think to your point on the education and just like the consumer experience, you know, for those who are newer to this space, in my opinion, it's years before you finally tap into like the optimal dosage product, you know, whether it's hybrid or entourage effect or whatever it might be. It's a while before you find like what really gels with your own endocannabinoid system, at least speaking from my journey with it.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to like your limited drops, Samantha, and like how you guys are cultivating, and like you have a very, from what I see, a unique approach to the market. You know, I think we've talked about before in Massachusetts, there's maybe one other operator that's really kind of competing on that shelf space and for that consumer that you serve today. Like, help us understand your rotation of genetics and your drops. You know, how often do you know, bring things out? You know, the same strain twice in 3 months? Is it once every 6 months? And give us a little bit better of an idea of like how you're leveraging that to, you know, sustain price.
Yeah. So basically, we're doing a lot of pheno hunting, which when you're doing the pheno hunting, you're sacrificing flower space. So you're basically sacrificing your potential income to be able to hunt through different strains. Because we only have, you know, a certain amount of square footage that we're allowed to flower under. So just, we only, we'll run through a seed pack. Basically, we'll do like 2 to 3 at a time, nothing too crazy because we really don't have the space for it. And then you know, from when we pop the seed to when they're going into flower, there's probably about 6 months, 6 months of vegging them and then flowering them out for ourselves and doing R&D with them, getting them tested, making sure they're even something that we want to run. A lot of the time you'll run stuff and it's not even worth putting into commercial production. So we're generally sorting through 2 to 3 strains at any one given time, and we have maybe 5 on our menu, and then we'll run each strain for like 2 or 3 runs and then phase it out. But we're kind of trying to do what I like to call the Trader Joe's method, which is you kind of get a little bit of a cult following for something and then you just pull it and it's just gone. Just super limited batch. Happened to me at Trader Joe's with several of my favorite items. I'd get them consistently every time I was there, and then one day they weren't there and they're never coming back, you know. I mean, eventually we'll keep like 1 plant in veg, and the plan is to bring it back, but we've only been open for a year, so we haven't reintroduced anything that we've completely wiped yet.
Okay. That's I think we should talk about that a little bit more. You know, Max, my understanding it with your lots is it's maybe 800 units to 1,500 units, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, there are times where we go over 1,500 for sure. You know, because sometimes you get dumpers, right? And, you know, the batch gets a little bit bigger. But we've been lucky, you know, we work with over, you know, anywhere between 20 to 30, over 30 flower suppliers in Colorado since the, you know, the beginning of Dialed In. And now we're working with, you know, a lot of the rosin suppliers as well. And we're all about collaboration. You know, that's where we started at the very beginning. It's all about collaboration. So being able to do that and keep those batches, you know, try to be under 2,000, it definitely helps the consumer want to go out, get them before they're gone. And then really, we try not to run multiple batches, you know, over the course of a couple of years that we've already run. So we try to keep it fresh, new, different, but, you know, it happens.
That's fair. I mean, Samantha, I didn't realize you guys were just a year into the business. So,
of being licensed and being able to produce flower here in Massachusetts. Yep.
Yeah. Well, congrats on all the success thus far.
Congratulations.
I mean, that's huge.
I think we've had the building like 5 years now, so it took a very long time.
I personally have not been down that path before, but I feel for you.
It's grueling, but so Max, tell me, when you make the gummies, are you making each batch per strain and then they're flavor specific, or are they multi-flavored?
Yeah, so every batch we're gonna have 2 flavor of gummies in the pack. You'll get five of each flavor, which obviously keeps the experience unique to the consumer. Because again, like I said, sure, there's going to be times where we're going to run Wedding Crasher more than once a year, probably, because like I said, we're working with so many different grows, and that's a popular strain here in Colorado, right? So what will be unique about it is you could get Wedding Crasher for say from, you know, a grow that we use a lot is called Host Cannabis, right? We could get something from them. The 2 flavors could be, you know, pineapple burst for the gummy as well as for cherry, you know, Lux Cherry, right? We run it again in a few months. We'll use Blue Raz and Watermelon Breeze. So again, it's going to be a similar effect, but you get a unique edible experience in terms of the flavors from the gummies. And that's what obviously, and it's nice because sometimes you want a nice little 20 milligram dose. You just put 2 of them together and you get both flavors. And we do try to, when we're thinking about the flavors that are when we're thinking about the 2 flavors of gummies that are going into the pack, we do try to think about if they are going to eat them together, will they complement each other? So we do consider that when we're doing that.
Nice. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. One thing that, keeps us unique to a lot of other gummy suppliers here in the state is our sous vide cooking process, right?
Mhm.
Um, so with the sous vide process, we're able to, in the way that in our process, we're able to keep a lot of the cannabinoids and the terpenes present. We don't let them basically cook off. And by doing so, that is what makes our gummies a little bit more potent than some say would from other companies.
So
Oh yeah. So it sounds like Fresh Connection and Dialed In have definitely taken the same methodology of doing the limited batch, and
Absolutely.
that definitely helps. When we have a batch finished, like last week, we got our test results back, so we have, a 30 pounds ready to go. We have 2 batches back, and those were sold out in like 2 days. And
That's incredible.
and the dispensaries who picked it up, like some of them are saying they sold out of their case of 96 eighths in like a couple days. One guy got rid of his in a day, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we did a really fun collaboration with Laser Cat for 420 this year. And we basically made these boxes. We used a really unique strain of theirs called Whoop Juice. So we created a juice box, if you will. And in that box, we had a tin of our gummies, a thing of our liquid, a gram of their rosin, and a half-gram cartridge of all of the same strain Whoop Juice. So it
That's
gave the consumer a really unique experience to be able to enjoy those terp profiles in pretty much any way that you could, whether it's smokable, ingestible, or through a liquid. And we made 60 boxes and almost sold out in 24 hours. There was one left the next day, but so we like to do those small limited runs with really fun brands like that. And again, it gives the consumer a really fun, unique buying experience that they don't always get to have.
mm-hmm.
I think one of the things that would be, helpful to talk about for those that are listening with us are like some of the challenges, right? A lot of times we share all the good stuff, social media, and what people see mostly are the highlights. They don't see the lowlights, right? But maybe there's an opportunity to actually gain some more momentum in the lowlights because it's relatable for a lot of us. Samantha, like, what have been some of the challenges along the way? Even today, like you're going through and
So let me tell you, so it's been extremely humid. So we had to add a bunch of dehumidifiers to our trimming area because the bud, as we're trimming it, is wicking up water from the atmosphere. So we had to add all these dehumidifiers. We accidentally plumbed one into the wrong, I'm not going to say this, but we accidentally plumbed one into the wrong pipe.
Oh no.
Then, when it rained really hard out, it flooded, and basically this pump is supposed to come on, a sump pump that's like outside and pumps all the extra water. But when that came on, because they had plumbed the new dehumidifier into that same pipe, it shot out that pipe and started like flooding our facility. And I was the only one there, and I came down and there's just like water absolutely everywhere. And it was very scary. I got it cleaned up in like 5 minutes. Like within 5 minutes of getting down there, it was pretty much cleaned up. But it was scary.
day
So
in the
just
life.
and just always being ahead of the weather. People want to think, oh, we spent $2 million on this facility, it's going to be perfect. It's like, no, it's not. The weather changes outside, and it completely influences all of the inside stuff, even though it's closed. So it's like, the dehumidifiers don't work the same. The HVAC system doesn't work the same. If it's too hot out, the HVAC doesn't work right. If it's too cold, the HVAC doesn't work right. If there's a potential flood, everything might not work right. So
Can I just
like,
ditto everything Samantha just said? I mean, not to the extent we didn't flood our facility, but man, all the people that are listening right now, I don't think all of you pay attention to Colorado weather this year, but man, between May and June this year, I think we had more rain than Seattle. We experienced so much flooding, and the levels of humidity that we were experiencing, I mean, it was insane. We had to actually get a few dehumidifiers for our facility as well, because humidity does not help when we're trying to cure gummies. So we had to actually get a few of those ourselves. But weather is absolutely same thing with the HVAC system. You know, it's too hot, all of a sudden it doesn't work. It's too cold, all of a sudden the heat's not working. So I totally understand and can feel you on those.
And that's crazy because here I am thinking Colorado is so dry. Like,
yeah, we're supposed to be this high desert, but yeah, no, that was not the case this year. Now I've only been in Colorado for you know, a handful of years, but everyone that I know that is from Colorado would not stop talking about how they've never seen anything like this before. So I hope that Mother Nature does the same thing this winter and we get a bunch of snow. So coming from a snowboarder.
I'll be ripping right next to you on the skis. Samantha, do you ride?
I ski a bit, yes.
All right. Well, we might have to get you out here for a sesh on the Rockies.
It'd be fun.
What's going on with, like, you know, so for me, I remember when I was building my business, right? You're a year into operations. I think finding that fit in terms of capacity, demand, and Max, I know you've lived this life too for a few years.
Yep.
It took me 3 years when I was building my last business before Vert to actually get to the point that we had sufficient capacity for busy season to where demand didn't ultimately drive us into a backlog that we just could not keep up with. Are you seeing that at all in your business right now, Samantha, in terms of like being a year in? Obviously, like, I assume you're not completely dialed in with efficiencies yet. It's a continuous process. It seems like you have a pretty solid following you're building out there in Mass right now. The craft movement as a whole seems to really be building, and that community seems to really be thriving in Mass. As somebody who doesn't live there and just reads it from afar and talks to some friends, are you finding that to be a challenge right now for you and the team as it relates to that supply and demand balance?
At this point, we can't, you know, luckily, knock on wood, at this point, we can't keep up with our demand. So that's a good thing.
It's a good problem. It's a good problem.
Two evils, that's for sure.
When we started the Fresh Connection, we got the building and designed it to have 8 grow rooms, but we split it into 2 phases. So we've only built out 2 of them. Kind of just wanted to proof of concept, and also didn't want to just have way too much weed that it's really hard to get rid of if you have so much all at once. And also it's very hard to dial everything in if you do way too much at once, which in my opinion is what a lot of people do, because they basically made the canopy way too big. So everybody just maxed it out, being like, well, I'm going to have the biggest grow and we're going to max out our canopy. And it's like, more isn't always better. In fact, if you look at supply and demand, it's worse. So
Samantha speaking facts over there.
I don't know who is just allowing like endless canopy when there's only so much that you can purchase in one transaction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people like to be like, oh, well, in any other thing, it's, you know, free trade. And it's like, it's not free trade. What other industry do you go to the cash register and they say you can only buy this much? None. Like, that's not a thing. And if it was, people would be up in arms.
Michigan's got it figured out, it seems like.
What's their limit?
There isn't a limit on the recreational side right now.
Really?
I've been told by a number of people there's not a purchasing limit on the recreational side, and that's why they're able to, if you look at their revenue from last year, I remember reading they were just not far behind California in terms of total revenue, with a quarter of the population. So,
does anybody out there know?
Yeah.
Anybody?
Are there any people from Michigan in here that could back me on this or tell me I'm wrong?
One thing I think we all know is they're getting a ton of border traffic in a state like Illinois where it's over $100 for a, you know, I think that's even a half-gram vape.
An ounce a day, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so, you know, we're going to kind of get ready to wrap things up here. If you're enjoying the conversation, come find us in Vegas. We'll be out there. But, you know, I just want
to send us a message if you're not coming to Vegas. Don't
that too.
try.
That too. Words of wisdom, words of advice that we can share with those that are tuning in right now that might be building in craft today, maybe have the dreams and aspirations to do so. You know, Samantha, what's one thing you would share for those in terms of just a piece of inspiration?
A lot of people are going to tell you you're crazy and this is never going to happen. And that's just part of it. You have to kind of just laugh and be like, okay, that's great. That's great. That's what would happen if you did this. And you just have to keep pushing and don't go too big. That's my big word of advice. Is way too many people want to be like, oh, we're going to grow and make gummies and make hash rosin and make carts and this and that and make seeds. And it's like, you really got to focus. So that's why we're focusing on our Fresh Connection flower, because we know that that's what we do well and people love it. So yeah, just focus on something.
I love that. I think that, you know, all too often folks, when I kind of, they hope for the get rich quick thing, and the green rush ended like 5 years ago. So if you're playing in this space, it's definitely one where you got to have the grit, passion, and long-term mindset, focus. You know, I think being the best is way better than being the biggest. 100%. Way too many people focus on being the biggest. And Matt, I mean, Matt, that's, you know, definitely something that you guys, you know, embodied as well. But what's something that you'd share with those listening? And
yeah, I was going to kind of piggyback off what Samantha was going to say in terms of take it slow roll it. Don't try and, you know, ramp the brakes up or ramp the gas pedal up as soon as you see some success. Also, don't forget where you started. Take care of the state that took care of you at the very beginning. A lot of companies see, you know, the smallest bit of success and they're like, all right, I'm going to go do this in 3-4 other states and try and capitalize on, you know, some small revenue. They forget about where they originally started. They forget about that customer base. All of a sudden, the new 4 states that they're in, they're unfortunately not doing as well as they hope, and then they go back to where it all started, and no one's supporting them there any longer because they stopped supporting their original consumer base. So take your time, you know, take care of the consumers, do good business. You know, a lot of people out here are just unfortunately not doing good business. Just do good business, be a good person. That's honestly, it's as simple as that. In my opinion, take care of your employees, build a good culture within your company, try and kill the turnover rate. You know, taking care of your staff is huge. We're all about building an amazing culture at Dialed In. You know, we try to get food for our staff as much as we can. You know, I take a lot of them out to lunch. You know, we're doing something soon. If any of you guys are listening, you guys are hearing about it now, where we do a recess for them. Let them have an extended lunch and let them just enjoy themselves now that we're having nicer weather in Colorado. All those things. I know that's a lot, but I mean, those are all, it sounds like small things, but they go so far and they actually mean so much to people. So do good business, take care of your staff, build a good culture.
I love that. I really do. Not enough people are focusing in on that, to be honest. And I think that it's a differentiator, because when you do find that product market fit, and that demand's surging, if you don't have the squad and the team in place that's able to crank like a machine, you're not going to put it out at the end of the day. It's all about 100%. The people.
Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you both jumping on with us today. For those that are listening, as I mentioned, we'll be out in Vegas on the growth track, opportunities in craft cannabis for developing customer loyalty and love. Max Vansluys, Dailed In Gummies, Samantha Seagaard at the Fresh Connection in Boston, Dustin Steerman with Vert. All right, we're out of here. We'll see you in Vegas in a couple months.
See you in Vegas, everybody.
What's up?
Later.
Bye.